I was an engineer graduate, was trying to avoid the draft, and took a job that I thought was draft deferred. Guess what? 9 months after I started this great job as an engineer, I got my draft notice. I had no inclination that I wanted to fly. In fact, I had never been in an airplane. 23 years old. Eyes got big, and I went, and this gentleman comes up to me and he literally puts his arm on my shoulder and says, "Son, how'd you like to be a naval aviator?" Okay.
You volunteered.
I have continually flown for all 50 years. I've always been current for the guys that are pilots. I have always been current in something, okay? And I'm a non-traditional career path, but I like to call myself the poster child for aviation. So I went military a very, very, very short period of time with United Airlines, and then came to St. Louis and went to work for a corporation here that you probably all know today by the name AT&T, the Southwestern Bell Telephone back then. I flew with them till they left and went to San Antonio. I then flew for an owner-operator for 10 years, and then from that I worked for a charter operation for about 3, and then FlightSafety. So that's the 50 years in a nutshell. Again, I can't believe that that's me, but that's what it says. Okay. As you can see, I was 23 years old. So the one thing about the Wright Brothers Award, that it certainly signifies that I am now old. That's a T-28 that I'm sitting in. That was the first aircraft that I carrier qualified in. Right after I got my wings, I spent some time in Vietnam with an outfit called Val 4, which was a composite Marine Corps Navy squadron flying OV-10s to support the riverines, the fast boats in the Mekong Delta. Utapao, Thailand was a stop-off point back in the day, particularly for the VP Navy. We would leave, they'd go out of Utapao and fly patrols out into the Indian Ocean. I happened to be assigned as the officer in charge of a detachment at Bandar Abbas in 1973. So I got a Facebook message here just 2 or 3 weeks ago, and the question was, "Are you the same Dale as Dale of the Desert?" So apparently that was my nickname while I was officer in charge of Bandar Abbas, was Dale of the Desert. The Navy has the thing of doing what we call flag waving, at least as we call them amongst ourselves, where an aircraft and a crew, or several aircraft and crews, would go and stop at a remote site. In this case, it was the Cocos Keeling Islands, which is run by the Australians. Cocos Keeling Islands were used as a fuel stop between Australia and Malaysia until we got aircraft, of course, that had the range that could go non-stop, and then it became a comm station. We stopped here for 3 days to kind of wave the American flag and set up some camaraderie between the Aussies and ourselves. Okay, and this is, and last but not least, this is what it has brought me today. We have a place down at the Lake of the Ozarks. As you can see, we enjoy boating, and the family. The family is and that's what this is all about. I would be remiss without mentioning probably the highlight of my life was an honor flight that I took just this past September. I didn't fully understand the impact that had on me. But again, my wife arranged it, and I can't never thank her enough. So thank you very much.
And present you with the certificate of recognition, and suitable for bringing. For Dale, this is your pin to wear with honor. I know we've got several 50-year folks here today, and they all have their pin on. So you can wear it with honor.
subsequently I got selected to be an ops officer and then the commander of the 459 Squadron out of the West Coast. And that was an interesting job because it was not only commander your squadron, but you had 3 detachments that you were in charge of. So I had about 140, 150 pilots, and we had to move from Norton to March Air Force Base as we closed Norton. The other ones were at McClellan Air Force Base and also down in San Antonio in support of the Air Education and Training Command. The one that was interesting, though, was the one that was at Las Vegas at Nellis, and that was in support of Tonopah, and people didn't know about it. We, the good guys, had gotten MiG aircraft, and up until that point, the people at top, there wasn't a Top Gun, so everybody, you probably might talk to that, a lot of the 5 pilots, we just weren't doing well over there. So once they captured these MiGs and took out Tonopah and learned all the tactics, the capability of the airplanes, then what they wound up doing is teaching our guys the tactics to win the battles over there. It just completely reversed. Out of that, a guy named Randy Duke Cunningham, who was, I think, one of our first aces over there. And he was the father, or essentially they say he's the father of the Top Gun, which that movie's coming out here shortly. I can't wait. It's kind of like with the flight out here. Anyway, that was kind of an interesting story out of it because now I see things daily that we used to have to go into a safe to hear about. They were special compartmentalized things. The other thing was the F-117. We were supporting that. Nobody knew about that stuff. And I hope there's a lot of more new stuff out there. Hey, that's what we did out there. And then the coolest thing, one of the coolest things I got to do is we had to move my squadron from Norton Air Force Base to March because we closed Norton. And I got to do, nobody said we could do it, but we did an 8-ship formation in which we had 4 C-12s and then we had a dissimilar formation with 4 Lears in the back of it. And the boss always said, well, you got to keep them separate. Well, if anybody's full information, that's hard to do. So naturally, everybody started getting tightened up. And before it was all over, it was like 3-foot wingtip. And we took the airplane, and I wanted to keep my C status, which is combat status, as a commander. So I challenged the squadron to do that. I won a lot of money on this, by the way, too, because they said nobody's ever going to approve this silly thing. But we flew this 8-ship formation from Norton over to March. The weather cooperated, landed over there, and that was like, yes, that was fun. Got a call from General Hopper, my favorite general, and he says, I got a crappy job for you. It's going to be up all hours of the day and night. You're going to take calls, and you're going to have to hold your ground stuff. And I said, well, yes, sir, whatever you want me to do. And I said, what is it? He said, I want you to be chief of stand L for the command, which essentially, the best way to describe that, Bob's been there. It's a chief pilot of the command. So essentially, you're over about 9,000 pilots and crew members from C-17, C-5, whatever, all the way down. So did that, wound up having to do some pretty testy things. Got myself a little bit of the old velvet glove. General Becker and I, we kind of had a crash of a 135, so we crashed, we grounded all the 135 fleet. Then we had tail cracks in the C-5s, so we grounded the C-5s. And then the general calls me in on Monday because we couldn't get in touch with him. And he says, you made the right decision because, but you also just did away with 1/3 of our nuclear capability by grounding it with 35. The trouble is that they had a problem with the tail, and when it crashed, it got Kirk and killed everybody, and my conscience just wouldn't let allow, so I grounded the fleet. Anyway, that's me. Crushed Charlie before I got out. While I was at FedEx, I flew the Lear 45, the Challenger, and the Global. Third career, here I am, FlightSafety. I'm proud to be here. It's been a rush. It's been about a year and a half. I never thought I'd be doing this, but I figured I had 2 careers in aviation. I wanted to close out with the third, and this is where I'll close my aviation career.
Bill, when you had that. Yeah. Help him if you want.
Make sure it doesn't come.
Black, you like to hold that up. Yeah, go right ahead.
Just real quick, I wanted to thank everybody, especially Mr. Thurman, the FlightSafety folks, sponsoring this and doing this is a cool thing. It's really, it means a lot to all of us. There's so much negativity in the world today that, you know, us old farts have made it through for 50 years and didn't hurt anybody. It means a lot. So thanks to all the senior staff, thanks to my family. Dale, congratulations. That's kind of cool, even for a Navy guy.